Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Critical Conversations, where we talk about hot topic issues related to the Muslim world. Today we are joined by two activists, Shai, Eluk and Osama, Elewat, who join us from Israel and Palestine and are members of Combatants for Peace. Combatants for Peace is a binational organization made up of Israeli soldiers, former Israeli soldiers, who have refused to serve in the occupied territories, and Palestinians who have decided to give up their armed struggle in order to engage in a non-violent resistance movement. Shai and Osama, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for hosting us.
So Osama, let me begin with you. You were 14 years old when you were arrested for raising a Palestinian flag on a tree, and you served time for about a year in an Israeli prison.
Yeah.
You also saw your father being taken away in the middle of the night as a child. You also saw your friends getting killed during various protests. You were about to join the Second Intifada when you were invited to a meeting in Beit Jala in the West Bank. Could you tell us what happened next?
What happened is that I was invited by one of my friends to a meeting for peace activists, and I went there. And when I arrived at the place, I found out that these people are Jewish Israeli people, and I refused to be with them. And I went out to the second room waiting my friend to finish this meeting and to come out. And I was surprised by hearing one of these people talking about the crimes in Gaza war by the Israeli army, and how they airstrike a huge building in order to kill one guy. And I was surprised that there is a Jewish person care about our children and our rights and refuse the actions of their own army against us. And I wanted to know more about this, and that's how I started talking to these people, and I found out there are some Israelis who really care and who really want to end this situation and don't agree with what's happening to the Palestinians.
Okay,
and that was my beginning. That's how I started.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Shai, so your parents made Aliyah from Morocco in the 1970s, and you were born and raised in Jerusalem. Later, you joined a very elite unit in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and were sent to Gaza, south of Mount Hebron. And you were deeply committed to securing and protecting Israel. What made you change your mind, and what did you see while you were serving as a soldier in Gaza?
I think that the experience from the existence and the fact that from the daily activity in the army, I really feeling that my existence in the territories and in Gaza just create more and more violence, and when you knock on the door and family in the middle of the night, or when children raise that any 100 meters they see you with the weapon, and they see your presence in all the aspects of their life, they're afraid from you, and they want to, and they get more violence. And in this way, our presence in the occupied territory just create more violence. And in Combatants for Peace, this is the way to create more tolerance and more dialogue. And
Sure, thank you so much. So, when you decided that you did not want to serve in the occupied territories anymore, what was the reaction that you got from your family, from your community, and were there any legal ramifications? Is there any penalty for refusing to serve?
Actually, in general, in Israel, the people that want to talk with Palestinians, that want to encourage in dialogue, are called in this moment traitors. It's interpretation like you're speaking with your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the reaction of the people that don't want to serve or to get part in the violate action. First of all, my family and my friends, and they're not, I think, at the point that it happened, they not agree with me. But after 4 years, and after I have a lot of friends like Osama and a lot of my partner in Combatants for Peace, they see it's apart from whole view of human rights and for equal for all the people in our area, and the understanding that I believe that this is the solution not also to my people and also to the Osama people and his family. And this whole view, it's more encouraging and support by them.
Sure. So initially they were reluctant, but then there's now a lot of support from your family and everything. And how do you respond to, when people, do they recognize, do people on the street recognize you as somebody who has refused to serve? And when they call you a traitor or other similar names, how do you respond?
It's part of our resistance. It's part of our message. I think any resistance in the world that we know from other struggles, we start with a small group of dreaming people that bring a very new and maybe sound radical message. But slowly and slowly, more people heard us and heard our messages, and in the end, we just want peace, and we just want to end the occupation.
Sure, thank you. So Osama, what about you? When you decided to sort of give up your belief in an armed struggle and decided to join Combatants for Peace, how did your friends who were perhaps in the Intifada, how did they respond, and how did your family?
Yeah. Actually, most of the Palestinians, include me, we never met Israelis in our life, like person to person. The only image we know about the Israeli people are full armed soldiers who just, like you mentioned before, take my father or arrest me or shot my friend or even shot tear gas at my school. So taking this step, it was not easy at all. I thought about it a lot, many times, like shifting, being different than you people, then the other people believes it's not different. But then I recognize that we can't in this situation by violence. We have to sit and to talk to people. And my friends refused it at the beginning, and I'm trying all the time to convince them and to show them what we are doing in order to convince them that this is the only way. Actually, my family support me, especially my father and my mother. Some of my friends believe in what I'm doing. Some of my friends are trying to believe in what I'm doing. Some of them really refuse it, and we discuss this all the time. But they still don't call me traitor. Maybe they call me that I lost my direction, or I'm wasting time, or I'm just giving the Israelis more and more opportunities to build more and more facts on West Bank.
Yeah.
But we are not considered as traitors, and our authority supports us.
Okay, great. And so, what about people in the Palestinian community, or even the larger international community, who look at you and say that by engaging with Israelis, what you're really doing is normalization? Because at the end of the day, the structural inequality and the institutionalized discrimination doesn't go away. The power disparity remains the same. There is, so you're not really doing anything to change the situation for the Palestinian people. So how do you respond to that?
First of all, the word normalization is a very big political word, and people using it without knowing what's the meaning of normalization. Normalization means to show the abnormal things as normal. And we never showed the abnormal things as normal. We always talking about people occupying our people. We always explaining about occupation, about building settlements, about taking our rights. So we are working together in order to tell the whole world what's going on and how is the occupation and end the occupation. So it's nothing to do with normalization. So when people call me these names, first of all, I don't mind, because I know that I'm different, and I believe in the sentence of Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you want to see. And I believe that being different is not easy, and we are trying to change the narrative of the people and the minds of the people and the word of struggle. And my big example, Yasser Arafat, says a long time ago, resistance is not arm or a weapon of an armed person only or a freedom fighter. Resistance could be a brush of painter and a pen of writer or a poet of a poem or yeah. So resistance could be many ways and many kinds, and we have examples like Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi. So these are big examples that the peaceful resistance always win.
Great. So in terms of Combatants for Peace, maybe we can start with you, Shai. What are the kinds of activities that you've engaged with, and what does the organization do to engage in resistance?
First of all, it's important to understand that all of our activity, our main goal is to challenge the point of view that now very common. The point of view now in Israel, it's that the Palestinian people, they're the enemy, and it's kind of delegitimation to the enemy, and most of the people didn't see them as a human being. It's just enemies that we want to protect us from them. So our activity put emphasis on that the humanity of the other is the humanity of us. For example, in the Joint Memorial Day that we made in Tel Aviv, every year we start with just 200 people that coming in the first time, and last week we had this event with 8,000 people, and in this it's important to understand the political connection, because what happened in the Memorial Day in Israel, it's that we remember only the Israeli people that killing in this conflict, not the Palestinian. And the fact that we coming to our people and tell them, let's remembering all the people, all of us are suffering from this conflict. It's a new message. And
so now this is a joint memorial with both the Israeli and Palestinians sort of victims and people affected by the conflict that are remembered together.
Yeah.
Beside of it, we have a lot of educational program, and we made the tours to the West Bank to see the Israeli people, the reality there, and all the issues with the settlers, with the field, with the water issues, and what is meant to live under the occupation from the day you're born until today.
Great. So a lot of it is raising awareness among both populations, and especially about the occupation and the horrors of the occupation. Osama, so there's that, and then there's the third pillar about that is mentioned on the Combatants for Peace website is also ending the occupation.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what are specific steps that the organization has taken, or the activists within the organization have taken to end the occupation when it comes to settlements, when it comes to administrative detentions and children getting arrested, et cetera, et cetera. So what are some of those things that you have done or planning to do?
First of all, let's agree that we are a resistance movement. Mm-hmm. So all our acts is connected to end the occupation. When we go, for example, and rebuild a tent after the demolishing of this tent in Jordan Valley on South Hebron, we are encouraging the Palestinians to stay in their places. When we demonstrate in the streets, we are encouraging people to demonstrate against occupation. When we go to give lectures to the Israeli students, we are convincing the Israeli students that occupation is not the way to live in peace, and it could endanger you and me and everyone. So all our activities, it's connected. We, for example, hired a lawyer last year in order to prevent the existence of one new outpost in Jordan Valley. We demonstrate against outposts to remove them from there, and we went to the High Court. We have done tours to Israeli people to show them what's going on in West Bank and the discrimination about the water and the wall, because these people can make change, because we believe that the change can come from inside, not from outside only. Mm-hmm. So all our activities is involved or part of our main goal. Mm-hmm. It's not separated. There is no activities like it's not separate. It's all connected together.
And I want to add that it's connected your question about the normalization, because this activity and this resistance is a result of dialogue, and that we can to build trust, and it's a result of discussion between me and Osama and all of us in Combatants for Peace. And this discussion make us to really understand what the influence of your occupation, and to create this resistance. So this is the connection to the normalization.
Sure. So according to a recent poll conducted, I think, jointly by Israeli and Palestinian pollsters, it was, I think, done in December of 2017, they found that support for a two-state solution has fallen below 50%, both among Israeli Jews and also Palestinians. Why do you think that is? And I know Combatants for Peace as an organization does not take a position on any one kind of solution, whether it's a one-state solution or two-state solution or binational. How do you both, approach the two-state solution? Do you think it's a viable solution?
First of all, we in Combatants for Peace support solution. Solution is that let's end this bloodfall, let's end this violence and this hate. That's the most important thing. The political solution is not very clear for us what they're gonna do. If it could be two states or two United States or one state, it's just we want to raise our children in peace and protect their future. That's our main goal. The second thing is, unfortunately, people don't believe in two states anymore, because Israel is building more and more settlements. Every day they are taking more and more lands and trying to create realities on the land from the Israeli side. And the Palestinians are disappointed because of this. So what's happening in Gaza and the siege and the rockets also take Israelis to that side, to the right wing more, and to refuse the two-state solution. But we still see this as possible. This solution is possible. We could find some exceptions in the middle for some of the lands or whatever, or exchange lands here or there, but it's still possible, and it's the easy solution for now. It could not be the last solution. It could be just stop the war, stop the hate, give people chance to recover from all these revolutions and live normal life for a while, and then we will reach better solution.
Right, but when you say a two-state solution, in the land that's now left, when you sort of consider the settlements and the expansion of the settlements and everything, so are you thinking within the land that's left, which is 22%, you think there can be a viable Palestinian state within that?
It's actually, if you talk about the settlements and these things, it's less than 22%. But of course, when there is solution, when we want to have solution, we have to give up some of our beliefs. For example, Palestinians, I grew up with this idea that this land is mine. It's all mine. It's from the north to the south, from the river to the sea. And when Arafat decided in Oslo that we are taking 22% of this land, we're going to live in peace with the Israelis, we accepted it, even though we gave up something like 78% of the homeland. So Israeli settlers should give up and go out of our areas. And we will not negotiate about this 22% like a lot. We can make some exceptions, but we will not, because as John Kennedy said in 1963, he said, you can't negotiate with someone who say what mine is mine and what yours is negotiable. So if you want to negotiate this peace, let's go to the negotiations from the beginning and go to 48 too. But I think, they should have solution. They should kick some of these settlers back to Israel and give this lands back. It's not only about lands, it's about lands and borders and water and too many things.
And it's important to understand that any political solution is very, very far from the reality. In the reality, there is a fence and there is a two people that living in hating. And like Osama said, we are not meeting each other enough. And build trust is a condition for any agreement. And what we're trying in Combatants for Peace to make it's a safe place that we can to build this trust. And we're trying to build a community that growing up of people that coming and lost their fears and getting into this process. And this process is, like I said, is a condition of any agreement. And it's important to understand that we need to build trust before we starting to speak about agreements and political solutions that are very far from the reality.
Sure. And so, you said that at the joint memorial recently, there were about 8,000 people. So people are beginning to sort of, support the movement and everything. But I mean, do you know how much support there is generally in sort of mainstream Israeli society and Palestinian communities about, what you're doing?
Like any idea, it's process. It's process, and in those days we see a lot of attacks of us. But I think it's part of the spreading, and it's example that more and more people getting our messages, and it's put us on in the mainstream. The fact of the main court decided to allow this ceremony to exist. It's not what the government want. It's put us more in the consensus. We are not in the consensus, but the whole vision of human rights and the anti-discrimination is coming in slowly, but it's coming, and it's courageous messages.
Sure. So, Osama, let me ask you, what do you think of the BDS movement, and do you endorse it?
Yeah.
The BDS movement, which is the boy.
I think BDS is very important, non-violent movement, and and I think it's the same way I believe in. I believe in we have to build pressure on Israel to stop occupying the Palestinians and to end the occupation. We agree on the goal, and we don't agree in some things. Like, for example, it's important to me to go to the Israeli schools and educate the Israelis about my humanity and my rights and my life under occupation. And for them, it's something against their beliefs. Mm-hmm. But I still believe that BDS is useful and a good way, much better than shooting and throwing rocks and other stuff. So it's still in my field, in non-violence field, and building an economical pressure against the occupation is very important, and that's important way to push the Israeli government to change and to end the occupation.
So you specifically believe in the boycott of products that are perpetuating the occupation, but not in terms of people-to-people's contacts and engagement in that respect.
Because as long as we are not meeting, we will not change anything. We have to meet. We have to sit and to talk to each other and to understand each other's narratives and to show our humanity and to meet as humans. In the end, we have to meet and to talk whatever the solution is.
Sure.
We need both sides for agreement. We cannot to still negotiate and speak only with our people. And I think, as Osama said, the boycott is. I personally didn't buy products from the occupation area, and I think it's non-violent, legitimate step. But I think that if we boycott individuals and if we don't speak with people in the other side, we cannot create this resistance that we talk on, and we not can agree about any agreements. So the partnership is a very strong part of our work in Combatants for Peace.
Thank you. So, Osama, my last question to you, and then I'll turn my last question to Shai, is what do you think about the Palestinian Authority? And do you think it's hurting or helping the Palestinian people? And if you believe it's hurting the Palestinian people, what do you think is the alternative?
Yeah. Okay, that's a very important question actually. As a Palestinian who lived under full Israeli occupation and under the Palestinian Authority rules right now, I'm very blessed by the Palestinian Authority. I have my own people, I have my own police, I have a traffic police, I have people who care about me, who are building schools and streets and water nets to me. I feel safe. There is no one knocking my door and taking my father out during the night.
But Osama, there's also, reports of similar practices by the Palestinian Authority police as well, by, arbitrary detentions and, and there was a recent poll out, I think about 2 years ago, which showed that their popularity within some of the Palestinian territories is reducing. Do you not see that, and do you not believe that?
No, I don't see that. I see that I am very safe and protected under the Palestinian Authority because I can see the changes between the past and today. Mm-hmm. I can see the Palestinian flag, which I was arrested for raising it. It's everywhere in all the schools. I see in my town in Jericho, 3 schools where exist there now. There is 40 schools. Mm-hmm. I can see our children going to schools safe and they get good education. My school used to be locked most of the year. Mm-hmm. We don't live under curfew anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's the best place ever in this world, but mm-hmm. according to my situation before, I have my own passport, which is the Palestinian passport, which I fight for it most of my life.
Yeah.
I have my own flag in the UN and everywhere in this world. We have ambassadors, we have ministries, we have everything like even though we're still not normal state, but we are trying our best to reach this level, and the Palestinian Authority giving us a lot of services, which is not 100% enough for us because of the realities that Israel is controlling 62% of West Bank, so they can't give me water more than what they can control. But if you want to know the difference, if people are not convinced that the Palestinian Authority is important for us, go to Area C, which is under full Israeli control, and see the situation there, and go to Area A, where people living normal life. Even though Israelis still break the rules and enter to Area A and arrest people sometimes, but it's not every day like before.
Sure. I wish we had more time. I would have asked you about your approach to or thoughts about the Palestinian Authority's relations with Hamas and the situation in Gaza, but we'll leave that to another time.
I think that's a very political question, and it's not part of our activities, and yes. We are not going that far.
Sure, okay. So, Shai, my last question to you is, what kind of pressure do you think the Israeli government would respond to when it comes to ending the occupation? Do you think the pressure has to come from within the Israeli Jewish population? Do you think they will respond to pressure from the international community, the diaspora? What are some of the levers that people can sort of, exert pressure on?
I think in this situation, after a lot of time of occupation, and the Israeli government a lot of time decide to not take any action, and any pressure that we can to push on the Israeli government is okay for me, and I support in any pressure on the Israeli government to go to dialogue or negotiation. If it's specific, I think about the American politics, that I think USA give to the Israeli government unlimited power to do what we want without ask for critics steps or something that with not just general declaration and steps in the reality, because a lot of time we see that we don't have any change in the reality. The Palestinian continue to suffer, and also the Israeli soldier and the Israeli people suffering from the situation that Israel cannot be a democratic state with military control on a million of Palestinians. So it's a joining interest to end the occupation, and any pressure of the Israeli government is good.
So you think that the American government and the amount of aid it gives Israel every year can use some of its leverage to limit what it's doing in the occupied territories?
I don't have any position about the specific because I didn't know the number and the prices, but I think that if the USA government want to encourage and support Israel, they need to support in any agreement and in a real to ask and wish for ending the occupation and faster as we can, as soon as possible.
Okay, great. Well, thank you both so much for your time and for sharing your personal stories of transformation, and thank you for all of the work that you're doing on the ground.
Thank you very much.
Until next time, this is your host, Mehlaqa.